Welcome to The Next Big Thing, the 2469 Community Podcast. Joining us today, we have Jamil Shinawi, co-founder and CEO of Ahoy and actual VC. Kamran Mahmood, CEO of Gridizen. Audrey Hametner, CEO of the Bedrock program. And Gudkov, CEO of dodocs.ai.
So welcome to The Next Big Thing. We have a new episode about navigating failure. So I think we're quite well versed in that arena. No?
Yeah.
So let's break the ice by just, I don't know if you can think about a time where you have, you know.
Shall I kick it off?
Oh,
Sure.
please.
So, as we were discussing earlier, I spoke about this in public for the first time a few weeks ago. I went to therapy for a long time afterwards. And the therapy actually helped me give context. And I don't see it as failure, but I still see it as loss, if that makes sense. So what I classed as failure before I started talking to people about it was we had a big business. We're 200 employees, managing $600 million worth of assets in Dubai in the UK, and the global financial crash happened. And I was driving an Aston Martin, and within 2 years I had bailiffs at my door trying to repossess my house, and my wife's calling me.
Tell me it was not a DB9.
It was a DB9.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I've personally come from a background where we didn't have money. So father passed away when we were young. My mother raised 4 of us. So for a while we lived in one room. So I know what it's like not to have money. I know what it's like to go through that. So the loss and failure wasn't money. The loss actually ended up, once I had spoken to people, it was the relationships that I thought I had and the people that I'd lost along that journey. So in context, I lost a lot of money, personal wealth. I lost a lot of money for other people. Some of those people have passed away, and I'm still trying to recover some of those funds, which is, for someone like me who's quite emotional and takes things personally and wants to look after people, it's been a tough journey. But it's actually getting that balance in your head that you don't beat yourself up all the time. But that took a long time for me to get over. And I'm not, I mean, anyone who says they're completely over it is a magician. So I'm, 17 years later, not completely over it. But it's the loss rather than the failure, if that makes sense.
Totally. Yeah, I think different people process it differently. I don't know. What about you guys? What are your stories? Like if you have an antidote, short story.
Mine's not quite as deep as that.
I did warn you.
Yeah, you did. When I think about, my life is riddled with little failures, but there are always little failures that in hindsight you're like, oh, okay, that made me a little bit stronger, so maybe it's not so bad. But a recent one is more business related, where 2 years ago I came up with this really great way to scale my business, like fantastic way. I was so excited. It was a 3D gaming concept. Everyone I spoke to said yes. I had it verified through accelerators and VC individuals that I spoke to, and I was so gung-ho, and I put all my eggs in one basket and decided for 1 year I'm just going to go out and fundraise. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to meet people and I'm going to tell them about it. And I was on top of the world, and then I wasn't, because I spent so much time doing that. I didn't spend time building the business. Nothing came of it. A lot of empty promises. I have to be honest with you, some tears, right? When you're really that wedded to an idea that you really think this is what's going to take things to the next level. And everyone around you is telling you, yeah, you got this, go. It's amazing. This will take off. And a year later, you find yourself sitting in the same situation, just like dumbfounded, thinking, what did I do wrong, right? Talking to everybody. What would you have done? Okay, tick, 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 yeah, I did those things. What would you have done? Tick, 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 yeah, I did those things. What would you have done? Until the point where I literally had to shelve it. And I remember sitting with my advisor over a glass of wine with the tear coming down my cheek. And I'm like, I'm going to have to shelve this. I'm not killing it, but either this is either not the time, or there's something I'm missing, or I don't know what it is, but I need to put it on the shelf and figure that out after I raise my own money through the business to pay for it myself. So in essence, it kind of taught me, okay, maybe not chase other people's money, figure it out yourself. And then if something comes along, maybe that's a way to go about it. Unless something comes along and then I realize that I can't. But I'm telling you, I've never fought so hard. Now, do you know what I mean? Like, I've never fought that hard for something.
And do you still think about it?
All the time. All the time.
But you've clearly got up, dusted yourself off, and...
But I talk about it. Like it's like that baby that just never was birthed. Like, I'm still pregnant. It's just there.
I try avoid talking about it. And unfortunately, being in Dubai, because bulk of our operation was there, when I meet people after a while, that's all they want to talk about. I was with family for iftar a couple of nights ago. My cousin introduced me as the guy who did this.
Oh.
And I'm thinking, do I really have to talk about it today?
Again. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where, I mean, I still meet people who were like, so did you get it off the ground? And I'm like, no, but if you know anyone who's looking to invest, we can have a conversation.
I think many of us have had that conversation.
Yeah, it's hard though. It beats on your self-esteem in a way, and
That's
really, yeah. Like, I get it that there's a message, and I get that there's learning, but when you think you got something nailed, and you put so much of your hopes and excitement into it, and it just vanishes. You're just like...
But isn't that the psychology of us startup people? We're all a bit mad, and we all believe until we're told we can't believe anymore.
Oh, but even then, that makes you believe even more, right? Like, who
But
are
how
you to
can
tell me I can't
Yeah.
believe it?
Yeah.
Now you're going to
Because
see.
it's not normal what we go through.
No.
Well, how can you create something new and go through uncharted waters
Yeah,
without
yeah.
actually having to believe
Yes.
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
could?
Yes.
I mean, I think it's the only way. And I don't know, what about you?
I have several stories, and I will pick one I like the most. So actually, it's a failure over the choosing right partners. So we did a business with 3 guys, and it was just like the first several months. It was running very well. So we started to pick up very good pace, and despite that, it was obvious that we are not matching to each other. We have different vision, different goals, and after some while, we figure out that we started to fight every day. We have misunderstanding, and the business went down. So we decided to part ways, 4 of us, and after like half a year, I received several lawsuits from one of these guys that he tried to cheat on the business that we did previously from my end, and it was very big hit for me. So I couldn't imagine that doing these things as I do. So it's like a straight and honest, and someone who could name himself as my my partner could do such things. So I ended up winning all these lawsuits.
But how did you feel? I mean, during all of that and after that.
I was really shocked and actually scared a little bit, but having support from my family and my advisors, I managed it in a good way. I'm still thinking about that. That I shouldn't do several things prior to this business to make sure that it will not happen in the future.
But like you attribute the story to a failure. So when was the moment you realized, okay, I failed in picking a co-founder? What was that? Is it when you got a lawsuit or?
No, it was during the business before we part ways, because the little things when you trying to I'm personally trying to share to share knowledge, to share the profit, to share the respect, all of these things. And I had 2-3 times in my business projects situations where one of the partners they only tried to attract to himself everything to himself, and this was the case. So several times I've been noticing it, and after maybe third or fourth attempt, I decide to stop doing this and part ways.
I mean, for me, so like I started entrepreneurship quite young, like when I was 14, and like in hindsight, you know, like these stages of they call them stages of grief, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you start with denial, and then you have I think anger, yes. And okay, so it kind of felt like that, not in each one, but in all of them. I felt that I kind of matured from being a child to an adult through failure, almost. So yeah, when I was really young, everybody's mistake. It was my failure was everybody's mistake. This is the way it felt. And then as I grew up a bit, no, I was just angry at a mixture of internal, external factors of, you know, attributing that failure to them, basically. And then, no, it was more, I'm kind of depressed about failure, and then ashamed, and then it just, I don't know, there was a tipping point where I just stopped taking myself seriously as a person.
How long did that process take?
Maybe 10 years.
Wow. That happened to me in 6 months.
I mean, that's
To
tough.
feeling shame and wanting to hide the fact that I had that business.
See,
So the acceleration, the condensation of that was horrific, because initially the market was changing in London first in 2008.
Yeah.
So I was in denial, and I was carrying the operation going at a loss. We weren't selling any property anymore because no one was buying anything. And we all thought Dubai would save us. And then Dubai, Cityscape, October 2008, no one turned up and the market crashed overnight. So we were looking for a new office to expand operations in London. We had already signed a new lease in Dubai because we were growing that quickly, to walking into a room, reading a piece of paper and making 30 people redundant at the same time. And I could feel myself shaking. And some of those, it was employee number 2 and employee number 5 that I'd worked with for 8 years. So that, and then what I did 2009, 2010, I actually deleted that business from my LinkedIn. And then people started contacting me, you're hiding something, aren't you? Because we had investors' funds.
so I'm getting goosebumps as you say this, because I've been there a few times, and the minute you're doing it, it feels like an out-of-body experience. It really does. It just feels like even the way you're telling the story now, it feels like you were observing this.
Well, I'm having to compose myself thinking about it.
I know.
But these are the
It was-
reasons why people don't want to get into an entrepreneurship, right? It's
Honestly.
safer
Do you advise
to work
anybody?
for someone else.
But all
to
of you.
hold that burden.
Interestingly, so I came from investment banking, qualified accountant. I did quite a very specialist role that very few people could do in the city. And I met some friends when all this was going on. They said, "Do you regret leaving?" Not for 1 second. Not for 1 second. I'm actually a non-exec of a large engineering firm in Cambridge on the real estate side. And I hate it because of the bureaucracy, the politics, the games. And I'm doing there trying to make a difference. I think I've made a big difference in that organisation in the 3 years that I've been there in terms of governance and due process and real estate value. But I remember working in a bank and it was a game for people. And I'm not much of a game player. I'll just tell you the way it is. You know, I'm better than you. I deserve more money. Give me a bonus and a pay rise, for argument's sake. Yes.
We're good to go.
Yes.
I mean,
and I'll prove it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get away from that. So I left banking in 2000. So we had from 2 employees to 200 by 2008. That was hard work, but I was in control. I could actually make those decisions. But as I said a few minutes earlier, we're all a bit mad.
Yeah.
I mean, if I look at some of the failures I had, I mean, some of them resulted in me being homeless even sometimes, and in countries where I had no family or friends, and not taking myself seriously was my coping mechanism. And I like something that Rumi says. He says something in the lines of be notorious, lose your reputation, forget safety. I like that saying a lot. It resonates with me a lot. I've read this book by an author, and the book is called Emotional Agility. And the way she describes it is that you need to get back on the horse quickly when you fall. And I'm sure we heard all of that when we were kids.
Yes.
You fall off a bicycle, you get back
Quickly.
So I think the reason I did not condense that and I could come over stuff very quickly is because I immediately got back being busy. I mean, think about it. In about 24 years, I started 24 startups. But if you look at the average time of those that failed, it was 3 months. The concept of fail fast, I believe, is not just the best in dealing with failure, but it's also the best in dealing with innovation, or if you want to try something new. It is a good rule of thumb to cut your losses short and not to have to announce the time of death on the patient, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because that's quite difficult. Yeah. I mean, it's ludicrous that you actually have to decide that. So if you're passionate about something and people expect you to actually call a time of death, it's just stupid, I think. So better just to accept that you want to fail fast.
Yeah.
So is that a time of death, or is it a pivoting? Right. So when I read it's like you stop and then you do something new, completely different.
Yes. So I would say that from the 24 startups I started, only 11 did not go through that. And all the rest, it was like a 3-month thing, my own money, like what you were saying. And then nah, just call it dead, finish.
I think it's a real skill to be able to do that, because as founders, we all think we plow through, even though he's got 20 years experience, so he's telling me this isn't going to work. What does he know? I'm going to carry on doing it.
You have to have
and
that.
If you, to perforate the outer veneer and to get through, to be able to change, especially when you have to have a certain level of bravado and confidence to take that step and decide.
You know what's the most baffling thing to me at the beginning of my failure journey was the lack of empathy from other people. But then I kind of accepted it. And why should they? Again, I think the point of views really do vary. We should not expect everyone to empathize with our failure or actually even materialize our loss. What you call loss, and it's not a monetary loss, it's actually grief.
Yeah. Exactly.
People
So
don't
you
see
know
that.
the stages.
Nobody would feel that.
No.
Yeah.
Not even your team.
Yeah.
Your team would just look at you and they would just feel that you've wronged them, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they just feel that you abandoned us, you betrayed us. This is the way they feel. And
Wow, it's like you've been sitting next to me. So people, I take employing people seriously. You have to look after them. You have to
Yes.
nurture them.
Yes.
I mean, I went to people's weddings. I went to their children's christenings and all of this sort of stuff. And then suddenly you have to say, actually, and even some of those people that I was very, very close to didn't take the time to think that there must have been a reason why I was doing it, because you don't go around telling people, actually, you've got no money left.
No, of
Yeah.
course not.
Yeah, so
but
they had this perception that I could have carried on paying everybody's salaries.
yeah, it's
And-
like it's the right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Now, I mean, this is for people who want to work in startups, they should step down their entitlement, I believe. There is a lot of entitlement in normal hiring and recruitment in enterprise, which does not apply to a startup, because the opportunity you get with a startup, if you have equity, if you have the ability to do a lot of mistakes, learn, and really blow up your horizon, that should come with that expectation too. So whenever I see somebody coming with entitlement, I don't care what your skill set is. I don't want you here.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. So it changed the way I also picked my team a lot.
Makes sense. You know what I find really hard is knowing the point in which you say it's done. Right? So you have to be super mental and crazy to be an entrepreneur, to have that much vision and force behind what you want to do, unless you're just sort of like trying something out and seeing what sticks. So if you're the former and you're like, you know, I'm in there and this is my baby and I'm going to nurture it, at what point do you say, you know what, this isn't working, I need to cut my losses quick? Or, as you know, you guys have probably read too, people say normally a startup will fail, but when you look back, that success point was just...
But that was what was so impressive about what Jamil just said,
Yeah.
that 14 of them, or
Yeah.
11
Yeah.
of them, within 3 months, you
Yes.
could make the decision.
Exactly,
I
that's
can't
my
imagine
point.
myself being able to do that.
No. Like,
So
how
you
do
need
you
to...
see
Yeah,
that?
exactly.
Well, you kind of have done it before. So from your story, the way you parted with your DB9 is exactly the same. So I don't know, there was this mental shift for me when I went, and actually I became a minimalist. If you look even today at my life, everything I have I can pack in a suitcase. Everything I own. So I don't own real estate. I don't want to own stuff. I really don't want to. I'm pretty lightweight. And I think our obsession with ownership comes with a lot of pride and ego as well, of how our self-image is kind of built collectively. Yeah, I want to drive a nice car if I can afford it, but I don't want to own it. So I want to be asset light, and I want to be accepting to lose not just anything and anyone as well.
So you're like a spy, you've just got a go bag.
Yeah, because like listen, I had a very good thing going on with a partner, a life partner. We had kids even. But the minute work came in between, I had to make a choice. And I know that my work was the issue, but I can't live doing anything else. I was never employed by anyone. And this is what makes me happy. And I feel that I'm doing a difference in the world. I really do. And some of the startups I started, I still see the difference in, you know, every time I take a flight, every time I go to a hospital, I see things I've started. And that maybe did not make me super rich, maybe made some of my investors rich, but at least there is something.
Some satisfaction.
Exactly. And this is what I want to do. And I know for a fact that until the day I drop, well, either really sick or dead, I'm going to be doing this. There is no retirement in this game for me. I'm doing this for...
This is your calling.
That's it. I'm going to be doing this for the very long run of my very short lifetime. So I just know what I want in life. And this is it. It doesn't matter where I do it from. I don't care. I am a global citizen. I lived in so many places.
Can you coach and train someone to be that analytical when they haven't been through it, to within 3 months say, khalas?
I don't think so. Because we're all different. We have different childhoods. We have different experiences. We have different emotional attachments.
Yeah.
Different
There's different
wants.
reasons for why we start
Thank
what
you.
we do, right? The motivation behind my business, in hindsight, stemmed from I wouldn't call it a trauma, but it was a childhood trauma when I lost the dream of what I wanted to do. And then I realized there's got to be a better way at finding that purpose or that something, that je ne sais quoi that, Jamil clearly has, instead of having all these souls just working, stamping in, stamping out, and then they sit there at 45 going, what have I done with my life, right? I've made some money, great. I have a title, great. How do you feel about your career? Right? I mean, there's got to be more to it than that. The mental health crisis of the older generation, how people treat each other in the workplace, all these things.
I mean, forget even about failure, the continuous anxiety that you have
Right?
while building it, while sustaining it, while you feel that it's failing and dying. That alone, it requires...
Yeah, that's true.
So I went to a talk 2 or 3 years ago. It may have been before COVID, because COVID's a black hole. This founder had sold his business for multiple hundreds of millions. And he was making jokes about how people thought he was overnight success. Whereas actually, for 8 years, he thought he was going to be bankrupt every single morning.
Yes.
So that continuous anxiety, can you pay the bills?
Yes.
Are you going to be able to put food on the table? People don't fully appreciate. But just going back to the point of being able to make that decision quickly, just think about the number of man hours, money, and ability that's saved if you could make that faster.
Without question.
Across,
across
we're part of
anything,
In52469. Look at the number of startups there.
Yeah.
Some of the pitches we thought, oh my God, are you really spending time on that? And some people are there immensely bright, and you just think as everyone knows, I'm a real estate guy, so I don't really get involved in too many other things, even though I've got a fair amount of other experience. But you start thinking, well, is there a real need for that business? And I wish I could have access to that brain and ability to do something else.
See, the thing I learned the most is that there is no recipe.
No.
Yeah.
And that's why you cannot devise a method.
Correct.
And that's why there's no one
Correct.
book about it.
Thank you. And anyone that claims that they have the answer,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have an example for this situation as well. So I had a very good period of my life when my business is just going and growing, and we did like $500,000 MRR monthly. So I've been very enthusiastic and wanted to try something on the side that can kind of complete this business and make it growing, scaling faster. And just in 6 months, the market went down due to multiple reasons. And I started, in 1 year, I started 3 businesses. They all was a failure, so I lost money. And my wife got pregnant. We bought a house. And all of these things happened in 1 year. So it was like I came from the very, very high spirit to very big depression, and I lost like in this time frame, I lost over 15 kilos just on my emotional.
but that's
condition.
testament also to your life partner, because I imagine you bought the house before the failure.
Yeah.
And
Yes. Yes.
you're probably right. So having to actually, any mother wants to nest. You know, it's
Yeah,
just a natural instinct. And probably you lost that house,
Yes.
but she still stood by. I mean, that is something really big, huh?
Yeah.
Look, the support you have around you during
It's
while
huge,
you go
yeah,
through
it's
these
huge, of
is
course.
really important.
Yeah.
Because I mean, people they see an entrepreneur and they think, oh, okay, you had some failure, but what, like you said before, what we go through is at another level, and having the right people around you just to sort of like take a deep breath. We're not going to judge you. We're there with you. Okay.
Yeah, I think everybody experienced this feeling when today you feel like, oh man, I am bankrupt. I probably will bankrupt in 1 month, and tomorrow I'm the winner. I will do everything, so I'm the best. All of this roller coaster emotions. Yeah, I think everyone has it.
I mean, it's kind of. I mean, after a while, you become a little bit desensitized about it. Like
that's dangerous in itself, though, isn't it?
I don't think so. Why?
Because if you're desensitized, you may carry on going down a road you shouldn't be.
Oh no, I meant in the sense that you don't feel bad about failing. It's just a normal step. It's one of these things. You know, it's not easy.
It's how you frame failure. So if you look at me, I didn't have a day off. When it was all falling, I knew if I stayed at home, I tried working from home, but then I just don't have the psyche to be able to be at home and get a phone call. Can you go get the milk? Or we're short of bread. Can you go get that? And then can you pick up the kids? So I needed to get myself out of that. Yeah. And luckily a friend of mine gave me some desk space. I went there. They asked me for their help. I helped them change some of their operation for no cost, but I was busy. So staying in that routine.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, so what you just said is basically one of the tells and the ways to handle it. But what are there, like, I know one more tell, when you don't want to see other people. That's when you actually, exactly, when you get into that mood, something is not going well for you. And this is already toxic, and you should kill it. Whatever you're doing is not gonna, it's probably not, it's beyond your capacity.
But part of, so I'm a lot like that, but I was like that as a child.
No, being introverted is one thing. Like, you know, I meant
so that's why Eve, my co-founder, she's been shocked how much I've been talking in public. We've worked together for 18 years, and she's always been saying to me I should be speaking in public and I should tell my story, etc., etc. So for me to sit in the middle of a room in 5 for 2469 and talk about failure the way I did was a really bit, and she was talking about it all the way home, saying what's wrong, why are you talking about it? So my general default is to stay by myself, but I know that's unhealthy as well.
Exactly, but actually if you
so that's why I've been participating so much.
So the genesis of 2469 actually comes from that. You know, August is the worst month of the year to raise funds, and in my startup, which is Ahoy, we were like raising funds, and then August came and I knew it. Because I've been raising funds for a very long time, I knew that I'm gonna have zero chance of raising anything. And we had a really serious cash flow crunch. Like, we have people who are gonna pay us, but it's gonna take 60 days.
Yep.
And I was just, okay, I'm gonna go and try and get whatever I can in cash throughout whatever like investments I've made as an angel investor in startups, sell my stock at 10% of the value of it or something, just get any cash to go through the summer. So I did that, but then it felt also very lonely. So me and my co-founders and some people in my team, we decided that every Friday, which is the last day of the week, we're gonna go sit in a cafe and ask anybody who is suffering, any entrepreneur who's suffering, to actually just come and talk, and we can talk it out to see what can we do. And we met at this cafe Friday, like around 3:00, and we started talking about it. The first week we were like 8 people. Second week we were like 14. And 2 months in, the cafe told us you need to find another place. We cannot accommodate 100 plus people.
Mm.
It felt like a support group in a way.
That's what to say.
No, it is.
An
It is a
entrepreneur
support group. It's not in a way
Yeah.
because I've had a sense of comfort, and it's made it much easier for me to. So I've got real old horrible baggage from Dubai. Yeah, so I still have flashbacks when I drive past where I've worked or where I've had meetings or what I used to own. To come here is still semi-traumatic.
Sure.
But what Jamil and what 2469 has offered has been really supportive. And something, again, I was speaking to Eve about if we started from scratch, what business would we start in Dubai? And I see lots of lonely people in Dubai. Lots of people just ploughing their own furrow, not being able to talk to anyone, not having anyone to talk to. I tried to figure out a solution to be able to help people to be part of something.
But like this is it. When you bring a tribe of people who almost like there's nothing seemingly unifying us. We come from 160 plus countries, okay?
It's true.
But we are unified by
Madness.
yeah, kind of
A shared madness.
we actually all understand that it's normal to fail. We're normalizing this. So the result of this is you end up actually with breakthroughs and with some people who are telling you and reassuring you, okay, this is normal, or telling you, nah, this is not normal. So you are getting a recalibrated reality now to what you are doing versus the society, you know? I mean, I believe that anything new to be given birth to life, it requires an enormous amount of energy. Okay? And if you want to create anything, it will require a lot of energy. And that energy cannot come from mediocrity or something that is regular, right? Or normal.
No.
So if you think about it, it's actually fair that you suffer in entrepreneurship. I don't think we...
Well, I mean, I don't actually like the saying, but if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Thank you.
But everyone is trying,
Yeah.
right? Like this, I've
But
never seen
no,
the
no,
sheer amount of
We
people.
think everyone's trying.
No, but
No,
there
but
are...
there's a huge uptick in terms of people
it's
who
a
are
tiny,
now
tiny
talking
percentage.
about.
Maybe, but if you look at the number of people employed compared to the number of people doing what we're doing,
Yeah.
at this family iftar on Saturday, I spent time with my nephews, and they're talking about it a lot more. Yeah. So gone are the days where, as a parent, you do your O levels, IB, A levels, go to university. So now my nephew, he's just had an intern at a VC, which I started cringing at because he started asking me questions.
I mean, listen, if you think about it, entrepreneurship was devised as a way to achieve social mobility without basically the degree or the job title, or how much money you've had or inherited, or you know which family you come from. Depending on where you are, there are certain hallmarks to get your place in the society. Social mobility is your ability to move within these ranks.
Absolutely.
And capitalism has brought in a new factor, which is your merit of achievement. Okay, so what entrepreneurship is that now not everybody who's trying to be an entrepreneur is a real entrepreneur. There is a lot of what we call a wantrepreneur. Okay, and there is no shame in that as well, because you know maybe you just want to stick your toe
Try it out
in the
and
water. Yeah.
see if it's.
But I see it much more basic. So I don't see it as social mobility. I see it as any person who gets up in the morning and doesn't have a salary but still works a full day and doesn't know how much money they're going to have by the end of that day. In my perspective as an entrepreneur, I got interviewed a number of years ago, and someone asked me for a tech magazine, my favorite entrepreneurs. And you know, there's the standard Elon Musk and Bill Gates, etc. I said the guy that owns the corner shop and that has to run his own business and has to worry about the cost of bread going up from the wholesaler. Yeah, so you think about because they're real, from my perspective, real entrepreneurs as well, that have to make something from scratch all the time. It's only more recent. So the first businesses I launched, a unicorn was a mythical character. Now, everyone talks about unicorns. I still want to run a business that makes money. So that's been the real danger over the last few years, where people have talked about unicorns and raising X, Y, and Z, and people have thought raising money is success in your business, whereas actually the number of businesses that raise money and fail is actually higher.
This is
Exactly.
This is all due to sucky startup media that is full of BS.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
they are idealizing how much money we're able to attract.
Yes.
They're idealizing. I don't know why the 1 billion figure valuation became like.
I don't know what the
milestone.
big deal is.
I mean, they are the ones who are driving the ecosystem down.
Yes.
I mean,
Because they're setting unrealistic expectations.
Thank
and
you.
I work with young people, and there's by far the sheer amount of them that are now saying, I want to be an entrepreneur. What do you want to do? Or I'm going to run a business. What is the business going to do? I don't know. I'm just going to be an entrepreneur. Hold on a second. Like, come with an idea or something and have something behind it besides saying, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and I'm going to raise a lot of money. And then they're going to be on the magazine. And you're like,
Or we're going to have a unicorn, but they don't know what that idea
but
is.
that's the whole point, right? Like, entrepreneurs to me is someone who comes and says, I have an idea. Even if they're salaried, I have an idea and I want to make something of
and
this
you think
idea.
about how our lives are centered around businesses that will never make £1 million profit a year, but we still need them to run our lives from, as I said, the local
of course.
grocery shop or the local bakery or the local coffee shop, not the big brands.
I want to take it back to the bit about media and how it actually makes us feel bad about failure. The issue with media is that it is drawing a stereotype of success. Raise
Which
funds,
is a false narrative.
raise funds and get to $1 billion valuation. Raise funds and get to $1 billion valuation. And then you get all these amateur investors calling themselves venture capitalists, and a lot of venture capitalists know that. They go and say, okay, this is the recipe of success. I need to basically go and benchmark whatever is done in the market and attribute that to the formula of success. When that happens, and you're starting something, I mean, you're a female, look at the data, thank you. Okay, you're an immigrant founder, look at the data, thank you. Anybody here ex-consultants? Major consultants, big 5, big 4, nothing? Good luck. So
No, but it's true. It's true. And,
so
and
you don't fit any of the stereotypes of success. Conformity is the enemy of success and innovation. If anything, if the only thing I'd take out of Y Combinator and Silicon Valley, the only thing of value that would stand anywhere, in my opinion, is this. Conformity is the enemy of success. And it is. Nothing else, I believe. You cannot really attribute a workplace, a degree, a race, a speciality, a language you speak, a gender, an age. Nothing can be attributed to your ability to make it. I mean, who said that? I've seen investors rejecting to invest in a startup due to the age of the founder.
yeah, I've heard that.
How ludicrous. I mean, look at Warren Buffett. When did he make it?
Well, I'm getting worried because I'm slightly older than most people at startup land.
But that's the thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
If you're too young,
But
you're too young. But then when you're too old, they're like, oh, what is too old? Like, well, how come you're in your 50s and you're just becoming a
But that's,
startup?
I think, one of the reasons why entrepreneurship is suffering in Japan. Because if you don't have the gray hairs, socially,
then they
it's
think you
social-
don't have the experience to run
Thank you.
a business.
Thank you. And that's why Japanese entrepreneurs are flooding Japan and going to other places to start. But then in other societies, you find young entrepreneurs only making it. Why? Because the stereotype of success is that kid
Yes.
that embrace
That-
technology and, you know.
But that was created by Apple and Microsoft and all these guys. They were young 18, 20-somethings leaving university earlier and then creating these. So the media has just jumped on top of it.
Yeah, the media
And-
has created it rather than...
Rather
Yeah.
than the individuals. But I think
Yeah.
that the point here, part of the point here is that the concept of failure, right? And dealing with it from a cultural perspective. It's almost like people think that if you're young, you'll be able to bounce back quickly. But if you're older, then maybe not so much, because you might have a family or you might have, what have you. And then the way that it's looked at is if you're young, you failed a couple, it's okay. Khalas, carry on. But when you're older, it's like, oh, you weren't able to make that work with all those years of experience? Okay. Yeah. And there's a different type of sting, I think.
But that isn't the way the VCs see it. I mean, different
I'm just
VCs,
talking about people in general. The VCs in particular, like I said, I've had my run-ins with the excitement and the false, that sounds great, and then nothing, and it's sort of left with bad taste
set you
in my
unrealistic
mouth.
benchmarks to actually get the money.
I believe that the best investors out there are people who were entrepreneurs. I really do believe that. It's not because they have empathy. It's not about empathy. It's because they understand the journey. They understand what is a good bet and what is a bad bet more than what's your horoscope, Are you ex-McKinsey? Are you this? Are you that?
Can you give me a 5-year revenue plan, even though you haven't? Based on what? Give me something.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we've got enough time to talk about revenue plans and valuations.
But the point is that, like you said, that's let's go with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've established that we're losers, all of us, in the past,
Yeah, of course.
one way or the other.
Yeah.
And we've established that how much loss we've got out of that in, relationships, passion that was not realized, funds that were lost, all of that stuff. And how we would probably forever feel kind of responsible for it. But each person has a different way of processing it.
Yes.
Whether they're using therapy or they're using a small group or support group of friends that are in a similar likeness to the situation they're in or what have you. But so far, we haven't touched on the learning. I mean, you do learn a lot from failure. Let's look at the silver lining right now, okay? What's that silver lining? What did you get? Really look very hard sometimes, but you have to look very hard, yeah? But you look very hard and you find out that there has been something that I've obtained from this, both on a functional career level, but also on a personal level, right? So for me, on a functional level, it just gave me this, I would say, crazy agility and ability to go and try without fear. But on a personal level, it's extremely similar. It gave me a way to live. It actually unleashed a new level of freedom for me. And it taught me how not to care what you think, whoever you are. I really don't care what you think of me. I really don't. And people say that that's a lie. You must care on some level. Maybe. But
You haven't found that level yet.
no, maybe I do find it sometimes.
Yeah.
But when it comes to what I do and the way I want to live, I genuinely don't give, you know what,
A toot.
Yeah. a toot.
at all.
So another phrase that I don't like is don't take it personally.
Ugh.
So
It is personal.
Right?
So it feels so personal when
Yes.
people start changing their behavior. But I think if you can actually not take it personally, and a word I use is be shameless. Just carry on doing what you're doing and don't take it personally. And when people don't return your phone call or say no to you, it's their circumstances, what they're doing. It's not about you. Once or twice it may be, but you convince yourself it's not, so you carry on going. But the important thing is to dust yourself off and carry on going.
So this is your functional gain, let's say.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So
your personal gain is as well, right?
yeah. So before, every relationship, every email was important, and real attention to detail, drafting the email, making sure it's done at the right time and right phrases, etc. But now, what I've realized is time is transient. So the other big learning for me is actually the friend who gave me the desk space. He said, it will change. At the moment where you're sitting, you think it won't, but it may take 6 months, it may take 2 years, but things will be different.
This too shall pass.
Exactly. So it's actually a mixture of those sorts of things that you actually believe that you're not going to be sitting in the same place in 5 years or 10 years. Because at one stage it was just a dark, dark cloud over me and I thought, this is it. But obviously time moves on.
For me, I think failure in itself changed my view on failure in itself. Do you know what I mean? Like, I used to have a big fear of it. I always felt like I'm invincible in the sense that I can always figure it out. I've always been able to figure it out. In every issue I've ever had, as terrible as it is, as dramatic as it is, I can figure this out, and I couldn't figure this out.
Avoiding failure is a limitation of success, isn't it?
But it hits you like a ton of bricks, and it hits you emotionally, right? It's not just, I didn't figure it out. It's like, but I am the person who's always been able to figure this out. Like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, we got to get rid of our ego, don't we?
Yeah,
it's like a moment where you question your own abilities.
Yeah.
Right. Like everything that has been the foundation of what you've always been. I've always
self-image.
But yeah, I've always seen myself as someone who can figure it out. I'm not the brightest in the room all the time. I'm not special. I'm like anybody else, but I can figure it out. I can get there.
What about you?
From my perspective, I started to listen to my inner voice, to listen to my intuition a lot more than it used to be before. So, I'm right now open to any changes, and I do it quickly, like a pivoting and changing some goals. And my current team and my team in previous project, they actually gather around me just hearing the idea. So I'm sharing the idea, and the people jumped in without any numbers, any salaries, nothing. So
that is the right way to build, by the way.
Yeah.
Build around ideas, not around hiring people and money.
Yes, I also think like that. So the people feel that this is something worthful, and they believe in it, and this is the indication, and start to follow that this is the right way, and this is the right people who gathered around the idea and around the process and the product from the very beginning. So,
I mean, I think we need to wrap up. I see the guys behind the cameras signaling at me, and I hope it's not a dirty hand sign. I'll just say this. Nobody wants to invest in a lifestyle business. People want... if it was going to give mediocre returns, then you can afford to avoid doing something outstanding. But to do something outstanding, you need to go to those measures, and those are the returns that ETFs and stocks don't give you, and the normal safe haven investments don't give you. And every investor, of course, has a portfolio that they manage, and they have money in different things. But typically, if you're investing in startups and entrepreneurship or venture capital, you're looking for that double-digit X return, not the single-digit X return. And that's why we need to actually embrace failure. Of course, it's a bit annoying how failure is kind of idealized. I don't know, maybe it is not for everyone, but to me it's a bit annoying. But at the same time, it should be accepted as a reality. And if you really observe self-love and you really love yourself, you'll be able to deal with it. You need to fail. You need to stand up extremely quickly. And people who tell me I failed or I succeeded, I need to take a month off and enjoy or recover, I don't understand that. I really don't.
Likewise, yeah.
Like, you just get up and do it again. I've never seen somebody who was a serial builder or serial entrepreneur, exit for, whatever amount of money and be partying, for a month or something. No, I've never seen somebody who's successful at doing it do that. It's just normal business. And you wake up next morning and you find something new to do because, so that's basically what I wanted to say at the end. Anything you guys would like to add?
I think entrepreneurs should, something we touched on earlier, avoid isolating themselves. Find someone to talk to. Find their herd that they can feel comfortable sharing. To understand that they're actually not by themselves. They're not the first to do this or the last. And if they believe in themselves, it will be okay. And I learnt the hard way because I'm introverted. I don't speak much. And I had to, as I said, go to therapy. But I think therapy is a great option if you can do that. But finding someone to talk to and just let it all out. Cry in front of them, shout in front of them, but understand that there's someone to talk to.
I think the biggest difference is being able to differentiate the hype about failure, right? Fail fast, yeah, move on, yeah, and what it actually feels like. And when you feel it, recognizing what you're feeling and then being able to move forward. I think sometimes that recognition doesn't happen. And that recognition also is a lot of where the ego sits, or a lot of where the pain sits, or a lot of that can hold you back and make you feel like you need that month off. Because what is that uncomfortable feeling? No one is raised with your parents saying, yeah, you failed, way to go, you failed. No, we're taught the opposite. No, you don't want to fail. Oh, son, no, you want to be like that failure. Look at that guy. Oh, right? So we're conditioned in a particular way, and then you become an entrepreneur and it's like, yeah, I failed. And you're just like, hey, this is not comfortable. And you're sort of stuck. And this is, I think, why a lot of people go in isolation. If it was truly normalized, you wouldn't think twice about it. Right? It'd be like, we had a coffee, I had a failure. Let's move on. But it's not like that. There's actually a lot of sting because people who want to do something and invest that time and that energy and that money and that team and all of that, when it fails, it's natural to have a reaction. Now, if you've done it 18, 24 times, then after a while, you're kind of like, all right, I get that. But the first few times, like, yikes, this is... whoa. And depending on how big your failure might be, then, and maybe that's why everyone says fail quick, fail small, because then you can learn how to internalize that quickly and move on. But I would say that's the biggest, when I think about failure and what I've been through and what I've seen other entrepreneurs go through, it's that difference between, hey, fail fast, and, oh, what does it mean to me to fail? I talk to my parents, I talk to my friends, I talk to my spouse, I talk to myself. Holy crap. What does that mean about me that I had to go through this?
What about you, Dan?
I think that the advice that I will give to entrepreneurs, so if they truly feel that this is their way, and they could not and won't do anything despite the entrepreneurship, so they should follow. That's it. So if you are made of this material, right, to wake up in the morning and don't know what amount of money you will get in the end of the day or in the end of the week or months, you still should push for it. So if your heart want to go there, you should follow.
I mean, to just as a goodbye, I would like to invite you to read a quote by one of the least famous American presidents, Calvin Coolidge. To me, this quote touched me really deeply, and I think it was one of the best things ever said about failure and entrepreneurship. He says, nothing is like persistent and determination. Nothing is like persistent and determination. He's like, the world is full of educated derelicts, and there is nothing that is omnipotent like persistence and determination. And he mentions that the slogan "Press on" is the only thing that ever helped us get through the biggest troubles and the biggest. I do believe that. I know it's very unkind, and it seems like tough love, but it's true. Thank you guys. You've been really wonderful. This has been really insightful as well. And it's always the case when we sit down and talk. You're wonderful people. Appreciate you all.
Thank you for
Thank
inviting
you
us.
for having us.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.